Hi everyone, welcome back to the Stitches and Scribbles podcast. My name is Erin, and I just needed to do a catch-up episode with you guys. I missed last week, and I think there was a week not too long ago that I also skipped podcast just because it feels like there have been so many activities and things going on lately that I did not have a lot of crafty time. It looks like that's going to change soon. I'm really just transitioning from one crazy season into another crazy season is what's going on. But hopefully I should be kind of on sort of a normal-ish schedule at some point in the future. Who knows? Apparently I just like chaos. So just to kind of give you an update on what's been going on. So I am at the end of my market season, pretty much. My weekly farmers market goes through the end of September, and then I have one more event at the beginning of October, and then it looks like I'm done for the year. So not too much longer with craft fairs, although that one in October is a pretty big, well, it's not that it's a big event, it's that I did really well at it last year, so I want to make sure I have a lot of stuff for that one. But it's kind of like that game of how much stuff do I make, because then I won't be doing a fair again until spring. So I'll probably be doing a lot of crafting for that, but I haven't started that restock yet. I've just kind of been working on maintaining my collection for the farmers market. I made sure to start getting out my fall and winter stuff so that people have a chance to purchase that before the farmers market is over. So that's been kind of crazy. I think I've just had a lot of scheduled events lately, which is not super typical for me. I feel like there are definitely long stretches of time where I don't do anything except work and stuff at my house and occasionally hanging out with friends. But I feel like recently I had a lot of big events that ate up a lot of the weekend time, which is usually my normal crafty time. For lack of a better word. Usually during the week I'm working on crafty things for the channel or for markets and stuff. So the weekend is really where I get my personal projects in. And I haven't had a lot of time for that. So I'm hoping that I scheduled things correctly so that fall should not be too stressful in terms of crafting. But we'll see. Who knows? Part of the reason for all of this, and I don't remember if I mentioned it on the channel before, I actually accepted a long-term sub position for this school year, and obviously the dates are kind of a little bit up in the air because it's covering a maternity leave. So I know approximately what day I start, but it kind of depends on when baby comes. So that's kind of the big I don't want to say it's looming over my head. That sounds like I don't want to do it. I'm very excited to do it, but it's definitely a big thing that I have to plan around that has not been part of my normal schedule in years at this point. This is now my third year of not being a full-time teacher, which feels very strange to say that this is both only the third year that I haven't been full-time teaching, and also, wow, it's been over 2 years since I left my full-time job. Very bizarre how time works. But that is kind of the big thing that I'm trying to make sure that I conscientiously plan around so that I feel not stressed out, but also I want to make sure that I maintain some videos for you guys even while that's going on. So you might see some changes in the types of projects I'm doing. I'm probably going to switch to a lot more small projects, fast projects for the channel, which I was kind of already in the habit of that anyway because of market season. But that might be something that continues longer into the school year than it would have in the past. I've also delayed a couple of pattern releases just to make sure that I'm not stressing myself out with releasing patterns while I'm working full time. So that's just kind of going to be the way it is. I think I've said some of that in a video before, but I don't know. So that might have been a repeat for some of you. But I do have some projects to show you today. because I actually had some time this week to sit down and work on projects, which was absolutely lovely and felt very, very strange. So one of the things I did in the last 2 weeks, not that you can tell anymore because I got more stuff out, but I really organized my little cart that I keep all of my current projects on, because there was stuff on there that was really old. There was stuff that like didn't have the right containers, or things that I had like partially frogged and not finished. So I reorganized that whole cart, got it all set to go. There was space on it for the first time in forever. So then I decided to finish one project off of that whip cart, which was really, really good. I pulled out one of my like abandoned whips to finish. And that was this hat and scarf set. So the hat I actually had finished a while ago. You've probably seen it on this channel, I think like this time last year maybe. This is a just little beanie hat. I used half double crochet in the third loop to create those horizontal stitches. And I did slip stitch ribbing for the brim, and then added a little pom-pom on top. What yarn is this? I have extra skeins so I can show you. This is the Lion Brand Lazy Days in the color Clay. Scoop back in frame. It is a chain ply yarn, and it is 100% polyester. So very soft, very easy to work with because it's chain plied. I thought I dropped the skein on the floor when I tossed it, but no, it is where it's supposed to be. So I had made this hat a while ago and intended on making a matching scarf to go with it. For some reason, I did like 3 rows of the scarf and then put it on my cart and never touched it again. Don't know why. So I did finish the scarf. That was the project I decided to finish. So I did the same half double crochet in the third loop stitch that I did on the hat to give it that same like almost braid effect in the stitches. And then I did some twisty fringe at the bottom just by doing little rope braids. And I did this partially because I wanted fringe on it, but I knew if I didn't have some sort of a knot at the end of the fringe, the chain ply would unravel. So I did that knot to prevent it from unraveling too far. And I thought the little twisties were a fun look for this yarn. It feels very soft. It would definitely be very warm because it's polyester. So that will definitely be a late fall accessory for me. But I liked this kind of pale orangey color because I have a kind of tealy green jacket for fall. It's actually a raincoat. But it looks good with some orange tones, and this was an orange that I thought would look good with that color without clashing too much. So that was why I picked that yarn to begin with. I do now have 2 extra skeins of it, and I don't know what I'm going to do with those. So it didn't really help much in terms of like getting rid of all of the yarn that was in that project bin, but it did at least get a project done. So then naturally, after I finished one whip from my cart, instead of finishing another one from the cart, I started multiple new projects because that's just how it goes around here. One of the things I started, I did actually finish, and it will be featured in a video coming out in a couple weeks because I have already started my Halloween costume crochet projects. So I don't even know how to pick this up because it looks like a tangled mess sitting right here. But I made, this is what it looks like all laid out. I made a spider web pullover. So the reason why I made this is I know that by the time Halloween rolls around, I will be subbing full-time, and I wanted a school Halloween costume that I could wear. So I crocheted this pullover from a tutorial. It's going to get its own video, so I'm not going to link the pattern or anything yet. You'll just have to wait for the video to come out. I'm actually doing quite a few spiderweb themed projects, so you'll see a whole bunch in that video. But I crocheted this using the DIY Glow yarn from Lion Brand, which is glow in the dark. So the plan for this is to wear it over a black t-shirt or t-shirt dress to school, and I'm hoping to have a little spider amigurumi that I can pin to my shoulder. Apparently I just need to have a buddy whenever I wear costumes, because I do that for Ren Fair too now. I seem to always have a little creature that sits on my shoulder. So I will wear that to school. But it won't be my Halloween party costume, nor will it be my hand out candy to trick-or-treaters costume. I know that sounds like a lot, but I am someone who really likes dressing up, and I like having a different costume for every Halloween event that I go to. So we just have to pack as many costumes in as possible every Halloween. That's just how it works. I do tend to reuse bases of costumes a lot. Like usually at least one of my Halloween costumes is my Ren Fair costume, but with different like Halloween themed accessories instead of what I wear to Ren Fair. A lot of times I do closet costumes of I'm just taking clothing I already have and like basically Disney bounding, but with other characters. So I don't like buy like Halloween costumes every year. I'm usually making something. So it's not as bad as it sounds, but I do have quite elaborate plans for Halloween this year. So I finished that spiderweb sweater, and then I finished that on Friday, I guess, and afterwards I went to Sheep and Wool, so I haven't filmed any of the other spiderweb projects that I want to do. I'll continue those sometime this week. But yeah, I'm going to do the spider costume for school. The other spiderweb things are actually not costume related, they're other stuff. But we are hoping to host a Halloween party, so I have a costume idea for that I want to crochet. It's actually also going to use the DIY Glow yarn. We're hoping to do a pirate themed Halloween party. So I decided I kind of want to do a skeleton pirate look. I have like the base of a pirate costume, but I kind of want to have all of the accessories be skeleton themed. So I'm thinking I'm going to crochet some sort of a skeleton rib cage. I have a couple patterns I've been looking at to go over my costume. So that should be very fun. And then for handing out candy, I think I did decide. I'm going to wear Ren Fair costume pieces, which actually a lot of them will also be worn for the pirate costume. But one of the projects I started this week was to be for that. So I have had this yarn in my stash since last year. But this is a yarn I got from an event here in Milwaukee. And it is from, I believe it's Lady Pearl Yarns. Yes, Lady Pearl Yarns. And this was her colorway called Put a Spell on You. So it's inspired by the Sanderson sisters from Hocus Pocus. But to me it is the perfect Halloween color without having black in it. A lot of Halloween yarns have black. And I dropped my hook out of here. I started a vest. I promise it's a vest. It doesn't look like it. There's an armhole, and there's an armhole over there. It is one of those circle vest patterns, so it'll end up being very drapey, very like kind of ruffly. I'm hoping I can lace it up in the front, kind of like stays, and have that kind of like laced effect in the front. But this is what I'm going to wear for trick-or-treaters over some of my Ren Fair pieces just to give it a pop of Halloween color. So that was one of the projects I started. The other project I started is arguably even sillier because it is something I never thought that I would want to do. But I think I have ended, well, no, I am going to this event. I am going. So backtracking a little bit. I have a group of friends, they're actually all former coworkers from when I was teaching, who love Taylor Swift. They've listened to Taylor Swift since they were in high school. They've like been excited for every album release, every like Eras Tour update, all of this stuff. I did not listen to Taylor Swift in high school. I did not listen to Taylor Swift in college. I really did not even attempt listening to Taylor Swift until a couple years ago. There's actually a video somewhere on my channel of me listening to all of Taylor Swift's albums for the first time. And I think now that there's one or two albums that have come out since then. Definitely like more Taylor's version albums have come out since I filmed that video, but I know for a fact Midnight's was not out when I filmed that. I think possibly Evermore was also not out when I filmed that. I now know a lot of Taylor Swift trivia just from the last couple weeks. But anyway, they were really excited about the Eras Tour. So when the second leg of the Eras Tour was announced, they wanted to try to get tickets to go to whatever city we could get. I think we had talked about Indianapolis. They brought up New Orleans a couple times. And I appreciate the vibes of the Taylor Swift fandom. I love the costumes people are putting together for the tours. I love that each of the albums has a distinct vibe. I'm very into this whole concept, but I would not call myself a Taylor Swift fan at the moment. I think she is a marketing genius, but I'm still like getting to know her music at this point. So even though like I was so excited to like do something with my friends, have like the girls trip vibe, I told them that I would happily go with them for like the road trip portion of the Eras Tour, but that I didn't think tickets for an artist that I was not super into were in my budget, especially Taylor Swift tickets were not in my budget. So my plan was that if they happened to get Eras Tour tickets, I would go with them on the like road trip part of it. And honestly, my plan was to like find some local yarn stores or like have like a self-care day in the hotel while waiting for them to be done with the concert or whatever. So I was still excited about it, but I had set that limit for myself of like, we're not actually going to the Eras Tour. First of all, the amount of money for Eras Tour tickets is a little insane to me. 2, that would mean I would be taking a spot from someone who really is a genuine Taylor Swift fan, and that also felt wrong, especially knowing that there's like a lottery system for the tickets and everything. None of them ended up getting tickets. So when the movie theater version of the tour was announced, they were very excited. So in case you didn't know, movie theaters are going to be playing a recording of the concert as like a movie theater experience. So we decided that that was what we were going to do instead, and I was totally fine with that. Movie theater tickets are a much more reasonable thing than actual concert tickets. But they were talking about dressing up and what they were going to wear, and I kind of realized like I don't really have anything like Taylor Swift related that I would also like want in my closet. Like I wasn't going to buy a Taylor Swift t-shirt or anything like that just to wear to this one event. Again, I haven't, or did I say that in a different video? This is the second video I've filmed today, so I think I talked about it in a different clip that I filmed earlier. But I am not super into graphic tees anymore. I was very much a graphic tee person in high school and college, but I find that I'm not reaching for them very much anymore, so I'm trying to not purchase any more graphic tees. So getting a Taylor Swift shirt for one event that I probably wasn't going to wear again didn't seem like a good idea to me. So I started brainstorming of like, okay, what can I do that's like Taylor Swift related, but still something that I would just wear normally. And I remembered that there's a thing about cardigans for the Folklore album. I know there's a song called Cardigan. I believe the sweater that people are wearing is in a music video. Please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, because I clearly don't know. But I knew what the Folklore cardigan was supposed to look like, and it's a like very cabled like Irish sweater looking design. So since making a very cabled off-white Irish sweater has been on my knit list for a while as kind of like a dream project, and I already had the yarn for it, I decided to go ahead and cast it on. So I am not making the actual Folklore cardigan design, mostly because the ones I found were all for worsted weight yarn, and the yarn I had in my stash was DK weight, so I needed to find a different pattern anyway. I also didn't want one that was exactly the Folklore cardigan. It has a stripe of, I don't know if it's dark green or black, like around the button band and the cuffs, and I didn't really want that stripe in there. So I decided to just look for a different pattern that had the like very cabled design to it, but wasn't an exact replica of the Folklore sweater. And the one I ended up landing on is by Andrea Mowry. I think I have it up on my computer so I can tell you what it's actually called. It's called the Winter's Beach Cardigan. So it's still very cabled. The sleeves are mostly plain, which I liked because that'll make the sleeves go a little bit faster. And it looks like it's kind of drop shoulder. So fairly simple in construction, like in the shapes of the pieces, but the like difficulty comes with the stitches that are used. It also has pockets. Her photo, I'm looking at the pattern right now, that's why I keep looking this way. Her photo, it's like maybe ever so slightly cropped. It looks like it's hitting right at her hips. I'm probably going to try to make mine a little bit longer, assuming I even have time for all of this. So it is now September 10th. I am going to the movie theater to see this recorded concert on October 20th. So I have 1 month and 10 days to get this done, which is kind of insane, question mark. So I, as of right now, have done the bottom ribbing. I think I have like maybe 2 rows left on the bottom ribbing before I continue on. And the bottom ribbing was challenging because it's not actually ribbed the same way all the way through. There are spots where it's 1 by 1 rib, and there are spots where it's 2 by 2 rib, because it eventually matches up with the like vertical cabling patterns in the cardigan itself. But it was a lot of stitches to cast on, and counting out stitches for this it wasn't terrible. I won't say that. But it definitely took a lot of brain power. So I can only imagine what the actual cable part is going to be like. All of these stitch markers that I have in here are for the different panels of the cardigan. So each, like, between each set of stitch markers is going to be a different cable pattern. So I'm nervous for this, but I think it's going to be beautiful when it's finished. Again, this was something that I wanted to knit for a while. That's why I already had the yarn. But this kind of just gave me a reason to go ahead and do it, which I did appreciate that. I'm a little doubtful that it's going to be done in time for the concert, unless I put some like serious hours into it. The other kind of negative about this is my like primary knitting project right now, and it's not one where I can read and knit at the same time, which kind of makes me sad. I feel like my reading time has taken a hit so far this month, which August was like my most prolific reading month of this year. So the fact that now it's September 10th and I've only finished 1 book for September feels a little odd to me. But that means that I'm just going to have to do more audiobooks or find other ways to keep reading. So I actually don't even have any reading updates for you right now. I've also had a lot of duds lately in terms of reading. A lot of books where I like read 5 pages and decided it wasn't for me, so I returned it early, which has just been like not super motivating to read. I do have 2 books in progress right now. One of them is actually my husband's book club book. He's joining a book club in the neighborhood, and they are reading The Last House on Needless Street by, I forget what her name is. I know her first name is Catriona. Let me look it up on my story graph. And that one's definitely a horror thriller. It seems okay so far. It's a little weird. It's kind of giving me Psycho vibes, like Norman Bates kind of thing. And it's from the perspective of the character who is giving me the Norman Bates vibes. So that's kind of an odd narrator. Catriona Ward, and it's called The Last House on Needless Street. But the writing style is really good. So I'm definitely still interested in it because the writing is really good. The other one that I'm reading is actually a middle grade book, but it's by an author who I really like. Her name is Claire Swinarski. She does a lot of Catholic writing. And I started reading her nonfiction books that were for adults, but she wrote a middle grade book that I really like that, of course, now I can't remember what it's called, but I can picture the cover. But there was another one that came out, and it's called What Happened to Rachel Riley, and it's a very, it's the type of book that I wish had been around when I was in middle school, and I felt the same way about her other middle grade book. This one is about a girl who moves to a new school, and she can tell that there is a girl in her grade who's like being iced out by everyone in, I think it's 8th graders. But she doesn't know what this girl did to deserve that. And she can tell that this girl used to be a really popular girl. So she decides to like do an investigation on it, and she's like trying to interview her peers and her teachers, and just she wants just anyone to tell her what happened to this girl. So the book is called What Happened to Rachel Riley. And so far I'm really enjoying it. Not just like for myself as a reader, but also as a like, this seems like a really valuable teaching tool for middle grade aged kids. There's a lot of like social nuances that are addressed, especially with the fact that kids now have social media. They now have cell phones. A lot of stuff kind of in those categories is addressed. And the writing style is definitely like middle grade appropriate. Obviously that's the target audience, but it's interesting enough that I am enjoying it as an adult and finding a lot of resonance with the main character. So really excited to see how that one turns out. And that one probably won't take me very long to finish. It's just finding the time to finish it that needs to happen. So yeah, I think those are all my updates. I do have a lot of plans for what I'm going to be knitting this fall, but a lot of them are actually going to be on video for you guys because I think that's all I'm going to have time to do as far as fall knitting. I think the only exceptions were the Halloween vest that I'm making with the Sanderson yarn and the Taylor Swift cardigan. So other than that, I think everything that I knit and crochet over the next couple months is going to be videotaped, so you'll see it anyway. This might mean I have to get a little creative with what to show you on podcast episodes or what to talk about. We might talk more about reading, assuming that I have some time to read. Usually when I'm subbing, I have a little time to read, either when it's the kids are also silent reading or during prep periods. I don't think that will be the case when I'm long-term subbing because then I'll be grading and doing stuff like that too. But getting in like 5 minutes of reading like on my lunch break or like when the kids are at recess is a lot easier than trying to do it at home. So yeah, we'll just have to be creative with what we talk about in the podcast so that you can still get a podcast every week and it's not too boring. But I'm going to call it for this one. That's kind of all I have to show you anyway, except for stuff from the Sheep and Wool Fest, which I just went to yesterday at the time I'm filming this. But you'll see that in the vlog coming out on Friday, and then we can talk about it in next week's podcast. So, as I already said, that's going to be it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to follow me on other social media, that information will be in the description box below for you to check out. And if you liked what you saw today, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already so that you can be notified of all of my crafty content here on YouTube. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.